Hey guys, Greg here, Bone Tactical. Today we're going to talk about why the gray man is dead. And really, the gray man is not necessarily dead in the way that you think. So you're going to want to stay tuned for this video. But the gray man that what everybody thinks is the gray man is a joke all across Hollywood now, YouTube, everywhere. And that gray man is dead. And in any type of a high stakes situation, he's dead because he's got himself killed. And we just have a completely false concept of what gray man is. I'm Greg Tambone from Bone Tactical. Today we're going to discuss the real gray man theory from a guy who's been there, done that. All right, we're going to talk about being hunted, wanted, and international man of mystery and how that has affected me. What tips you, the average guy watching this video on YouTube, can take from it. What I've learned is that people really misunderstand gray man. And it's so dead, gray man theory is so dead that people are turned off to it. You guys hearing this are probably thinking, oh, another gray man, another guy with his stupid gray or khaki tactical pants and his black hat, thinks that he's invisible. Well, no amount of flannel shirts and dark sunglasses is going to help you. Pretty much everybody already knows that, so let's talk about what everybody doesn't know. What I've learned is where people mess up with gray man, and what I teach in the real gray man theory is that it's not about blending, right? It's not about the gear. So it's not about blending and it's not about gear. If it's not about blending, what is it about? It's about the perceptions of those around you and the changes that you can make. Walk, talk, accent, what I'm wearing, how I hold myself, whether I sit up, whether I really talk fast or whether I talk slow, whether I'm introverted or extroverted, okay? So much affects everything around you, way more than we think about it regularly. And what I've learned being hunted and wanted, detained and interrogated, black site prisons, all that kind of stuff, what I've learned is that pretty much everything that happens in the real gray man theory, in the way that it, not the dead gray man, but the real one, the way that can actually be successful in your daily endeavors, no matter where you are, that can survive and not just survive, but thrive in any situation. Everything that that gray man has of use exists between his ears, right? So this is a mentality. Now, I happen to enjoy nice gear, and so I'm wearing a shirt that's one of the most effective tools a gray man can have as far as physical tools go. I can go to Goodwill and get a shirt that I can use, but it's not going to be as great as this for sure. But if I have the skill set, then I can use whatever. Of course, when we start getting into super elite levels, then we want concealed carry shirts. Those of you guys know Speed, Surprise, and Violence of Action are your only real benefits if you ever have a physical altercation or anything like that. You don't have surprise if you don't have concealment, so concealment's super important for gray man. There's no type of real gray man theory that you can really be using by yourself having weapons that are visible to others. So you got stuff like the hidden in plain sight bone occlusion bracelet, but so much more important is the mindset, guys. So don't even think about the gear yet until you're squared away. And once you're really squared away, you can always find what you need in your surroundings. So the elite level guys that are able to utilize this theory are able to use anything that they have around them. As a teaching point, I mentioned this shirt. Why? Because it's a light color. Okay, it can be used to conceal items. That gives me the advantage. Blends well in rural environments because when I switch over to a rural environment, which is the woods, then I can streak some mud on here and I can utilize it as camouflage. And in a rural environment, when there's not a lot of people around, you're not wanting to change perceptions, you're wanting to not get seen. So that's the only time you're actually blending is when you're in the woods, deeply camouflaged and concealed. Otherwise, you're using something like this, which is drawing attention away from the fact that maybe we're prepared or that maybe we have a firearm on us type thing. Both of these are concealed carry shirts. That's an advantage that you learn about in the future. But what did I learn being overseas in a black site prison, for example? Well, being an American held in a facility that there were terrorists there and from Middle East, obviously, and there was Russian organized crime guys. It was a real full opportunity to learn a lot of cultural changes. And the biggest deal about the real gray man theory is understanding your area of operation before you're there, or if you can. So if I'm going to be somewhere in another country or wherever else, my skills, I don't need to assume that my skills directly apply. So we're always learning. And anytime you have, another area, when your area changes, then the dynamic changes and the necessary skills might change. What I learned was, let's take, for example, there was a Turkish guy who was a Islamic terrorist, and he was old and he was fat, but he ran things. And normally you would think that in a prison, it would take physical violence to enforce or to run things. So that tells you this guy was utilizing the real gray man theory, because who he was not based off of whether he could fight or not. And so it's the same balance in there. When I was there, I didn't have a network like he did, so I wasn't able to play up on that. There was one other American I saw one time from a distance, so I had a lot of disadvantages. What did I have to do? Well, I had the advantage of knowing martial arts. Okay, so I would practice different movements in my room. I would stay in shape. I would stay fit. I got in really good shape. All I did was read my Bible. Once I got a Bible, workout in my, do calisthenics, push-ups, and body shadow boxing and whatnot. When I had a mattress, I would, roll up the mattress and use that. And people could see, that's a type of gray man theory. People could see, oh, okay, well, if I actually do have to fight that guy, it's not going to be easy. So there's that could be a useful situation in some situations. In other situations, it might not be something that you want to show. Okay, so it's all about knowing what cards you're going to show, knowing what you're presenting to the world around you. You need to be considering your environment, what you're doing, and what kind of a person, what would it take to be successful, right? If I do this, if I make this action, if I wear this outfit, if I talk this way, if I present myself this way, am I going to be successful in what I'm trying to do? Is it going to help me to reach my goals, or is it going to hurt me from reaching my goals? And it's really that simple, of just being aware of what we're doing and educated. So we have to educate ourselves on culture and skills and the way things work, action versus reaction. It's all intelligence. So really, everything here, like I say, happens in between the ears. It happens in the mind. It's all about mindset, guys. Educating. It never works if your ego is involved. So in order to learn, now I'm showing you guys, painting the picture here, that what's required is intelligence and knowledge, study, and the only way that we can gain intelligence or learn something new is if we are willing to admit that we don't know everything, or that what we do know might not be right. So that's the mindset flip. Starting with getting rid of your ego, accepting that this might be true and challenging it and trying to work it in, constantly being a student of life, open-minded, and then working in the skill set, working in what you'll know how important this shirt is when you need it. If you don't understand right now how incredibly useful these shirts can be for you to be more successful in your daily life, then you don't need it yet, right? So what you need to do is study. And the people, you'll see it on YouTube all the time. People get into a video, within 15 seconds, 5 seconds, they start commenting why the person is wrong. They're looking for being able to share their opinion. They have no experience. They know nothing about what they're talking about. And all they want to do is just spew. They're trolls. And you see them all over Bone Tactical, right? I try to not allow, right? We have moderators that will even remove comments that are using foul language or crazy or disrespectful, just because we try to have an open system where we can be open to learning and educating and higher knowledge. But sometimes if the people are respectful and they have a differing point, we'll leave the comment up. And so you can see some of those up here. And when you have a person that's intelligent or has any level of experience, they can look and see and immediately know that person's just a fool. So oftentimes, I probably commented here 100 times, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth so you could listen twice as much as you speak. Another comment I sometimes respond with is, people around you might assume you to be a fool. And the reason for that is because you don't yet know the real gray man theory. right? People around you assume you to be a fool because the way you dress, the way you walk, the way you hold yourself. But you don't prove them right until you open your mouth. In order to get away from that, right? Are you the idiot in the room or are you not the idiot in the room? If you don't know who the idiot in the room is, it's you. In order to get away from that, you have to completely get rid of the ego and be willing to learn. If you can't learn something from every one of my videos, then you need a complete reset and get rid of your ego and start over. And that's the only way that you'll be able to utilize the real gray man theory. It's the only way you'll be able to learn. And it's the only way that you'll be able to achieve high levels of success in your life. Thanks for watching. Bono.